Poet Ogden Nash wrote, "I cannot help but deem the grackle an ornithological debacle." Nash was not fond of their harsh voice and hoodlum ways. Grackles tend to hang out in flocks that resemble gangs. Even when you see a lone grackle, there usually are other grackles nearby, often a lot of them. Grackles utter harsh individual jack notes, so when a gang of them is around, one hears a cacophony of the harsh notes to which Ogden Nash referred. I know from trying to shoot video footage of them that they spend a lot of time in the shadows. They sometimes congregate in places that humans consider unpleasant, such as around garbage dumps and trash cans. The common grackles featured in this video are the smallest of three species of grackles found in North America, and they are one of about a dozen species of grackles found throughout the New World. The common grackle is found everywhere in the United States except some of the far western states. The name grackle comes from an unrelated Eurasian species called the jackdaw. The Latin name for the jackdaw is gracula, which is spelled like the name for the similarly dark-clad vampire, but with a G instead of a D. The jackdaw is in the same family as the crows. Common grackles are not in the same family as crows and sometimes show their dislike for them. You can see the size difference between the crow on the left and the much smaller grackle on the right. Likewise, common grackles are not in the same family as the introduced European starling, and while the two species often feed together and hang out in large mixed flocks, tensions sometimes arise, as can be seen with this starling, the smaller yellow-billed bird, trying to get food from a trash can coveted by grackles. Grackles are in a family called the icterids, which includes the New World blackbirds and orioles, the cowbirds, meadowlarks, and other species found in the Americas. Grackles often congregate in large flocks with other species after the breeding season, and they can be agricultural pests. One nickname for them in farming areas is maize thief, because they eat a lot of corn. Grackles are industrious birds. One rarely sees a grackle standing around doing nothing. They usually seem to be busy looking for food. Grackles are predominantly vegetarian for most of the year, but during the breeding season they will eat just about anything, including insects, frogs, mice, and even other birds. I once saw a common grackle attack and kill a house sparrow, flying after its prey as a sharp-shinned hawk would. Grackles eat a lot of food discarded by humans, and as you can see, they are not averse to eating cold leftover pizza. Most male common grackles in the area where I live are a dark iridescent purple. In some parts of North America, they are more of a bronze color. When I was growing up, the two types were considered separate species. Iridescence has to do with color changes that occur when something is viewed from different angles. The word comes from the Greek Iris, who is the goddess who personified rainbows. You can see how the feathers on this grackle seem to change color depending on the angle at which the light hits them. Male common grackles have a pale eye, and their long keel-shaped tail and large heavy bill distinguish them from most of the other icterids in the U.S. They sometimes use their tail in behavioral displays, or walk around with their tail sticking almost straight up into the air. Female common grackles are brown and not iridescent. As with the adult male, they have light-colored eyes, but the female's tail is shorter. You can observe the differences between the male on the right and the two females on the left. Young common grackles resemble females, except that they have dark rather than light eyes. After young common grackles leave the nest, they follow their parents around, begging for food. In this sequence, you can see a male grackle who finds a piece of food and carries it to a picnic table, away from the area occupied by the other grackles. He does not swallow the food when he arrives at the table. But when he sees a young grackle begging, he flies right over and stuffs the food into the young bird's bill. The fluttering of wings is a common begging behavior with many species of songbirds. Some female songbirds also do it during copulation displays. The young grackle continues to beg, and the adult continues to stuff food in. After a few weeks, young grackles, such as this one on the left, figure out that they can streamline the process and eliminate the middle grackle by picking up the food themselves and eating it. Many observers have seen grackles dip bread and other dry food into water before eating it, but grackles will also sometimes dip live food into water. As you can see with this grackle, he is dipping the wriggling worms he has collected into the stream. He most likely is then going to take this dampened live protein to hungry nestlings. Sometimes grackles will steal worms from robins, and I have on numerous occasions seen robins fly aggressively at grackles. As is the case with all other songbirds, grackles cannot drink when bending down. They must get a billful of water, lift their head, and let gravity work to move the water down their throat. Common grackles sometimes hop, but usually they walk. The walk looks more like a swagger. They are capable of walking fairly quickly. Many grackles walk along the shorelines of bodies of water in their seemingly perpetual search for food. Here is one walking amid the debris and pollution along the banks of the Potomac River in the nation's capital. Occasionally, grackles will hop into the water and splash around. They do this to prepare their feathers for cleaning and oiling. Contrary to popular belief, birds do not live in nests. They lay their eggs in nests during part of the year, but they rely on their feathers for protection from the elements and regulation of their body temperature. As such, birds are very careful about preening, which is the process of cleaning and arranging their feathers. Birds run their bill along every feather they can reach, and in the process, reattach any of the barbs that have become separated and remove any parasites. Feather maintenance is especially important for flight. Common grackles fly in a fairly direct path with little undulation. In this footage slowed down to a tenth of normal speed, you can see that their wings almost touch beneath them on each downstroke during flight. As with human gang members, common grackles engage in a lot of aggressive posturing. One such posture involves pointing the bill upward. Another type is called the rough-out display, in which the bird looks as if it is about to explode and in the process utters a little squeak. These two male grackles are aggressively displaying toward one another on a park bench next to a soda can. If you look carefully at this group in which grackles and starlings appear to be feeding peacefully, you can see some of the grackles doing aggressive bill-up displays. Grackles do the display quickly, and you can see it more easily in slow motion. Common grackles used to be birds of the fields and open country, but as North America has become more developed, they have had to adjust to new circumstances. Perhaps the reason they have survived and in many places flourished is that they seldom stay still and are always searching for something new in places where most other bird species don't bother to look.